我也不知道 FPGA 怎么做。他昨天，
不知道前面跟他要我知道不行。
对，我要跟着你前面那个人。他做 FPGA 是谁？他做 FPGA。星力大。我看到照片。
Okay, let me turn the microphone on. Okay, good morning everyone. Are there any questions? Questions before we start? Okay, if not, well, first of all, the project proposal is due, so that means I want everyone to at least know what you are doing. So that's kind of the purpose of the project proposal. I won't assign any more homework. That means you should now be working on projects mostly on your own. That's I think that's your main focus. I guess, let's see, yeah, little more than a month. Maybe a little more than 5 to 6 weeks. So next 5 to 6 weeks, you should be spending time on your projects. Those of you who are doing FFTs, I really want to see if you can spend some time looking at some effects of pipelining, things like pipelining, what happens if you change the word length, for example. So that's kind of, it's more fun to see what the variations are if you change some parameters rather than just some implementation. So, but you won't get there unless you complete your project 3 weeks in advance, which means next 3 weeks or so. So anyway, so that's kind of about the project. Those of you who are doing reading projects, once again, I don't mean to say that you just read them and copy and paste. That's not expected for those projects. Some meaningful understanding and review, literature search, those kinds of things are expected. The last homework is due next class, and then we will return your graded homeworks by Tuesday next week, and the midterm will be on Thursday, second midterm, which will be on homeworks 5, 6, 7 and 8, and on topics that I taught until last week. Okay, so I'm going to start chapter 13 on computer arithmetic. So that's I'm going to spend some time on chapter 13, and maybe we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll see. I'm not sure if I will talk about chapter 14 or not, or 15 or not. We'll see. So it's nice to have extra time. Usually the last parts of the class is never same from semester to semester. We are always reading new papers, different papers. So we'll start reading some papers. Maybe we'll do that after I complete some lectures in arithmetic. So so I will begin. Yes. chapter 13 today, which is the chapter on arithmetic, and there are a couple more chapters as well, 14 and 15, but we'll see. So most signed numbers, so we will assume signed numbers are implemented in 2's complement representation. So for example, a number A, let's say the word length W, let's say word length W is 5 bits as an example. Then I can write, and that is represented as A4 point A3, A2, A1, A0. So so in 2's complement, that weight is -1. So if this number is 1, that's a negative number. Weights of these will be 2 to the power -1, 2 to the power -2, 2 to the power -3, and 2 to the power -4. So the value of A will be -A4 plus A3 times 2 to the power -1 plus A2 times 2 to the power -2 plus A1 times 2 to the power -3 plus A0 times 2 to the power -4. So this is called signed number representation in 2's complement. This decimal point is the radix point, here. This number is integer representation, and to the right of the radix are fractional. So I might define 3 integer bits. So if I define 3 integer bits, say for example let's take that same thing here, A4, A3, A2, point A1, A0. So we have a 5-bit number with 3 integer bits and 2 fractional bits. So these are 3 integer bits and 2 fractional bits. The reason we call them fractional is because these weights are fractions, 2 to the power -1 and 2 to the power -2. Okay, so what is the dynamic range of this number here? What's the dynamic range? What is the maximum possible value and the minimum possible value?
3.2.
What will be the minimum? What do you think is the minimum? So by the way, these weights are going to be 1, 2 and -4, okay, because the sign bit has a negative weight. So the dynamic range will be from, the minimum value will be what? -4. When the sign bit is 1, everything else is 0. And what will be the maximum value? 2 plus, so when these are all, so this is 0, these are all ones, that's 3.75. 3 plus half plus quarter. So that's the dynamic range of a 5-bit number with 3 integer bits and 2 fractional bits. What about the dynamic range of this quantity here? That dynamic range will be -1 when this is 1 point all zeros, only 1 integer bit which is a sign bit, and half. So if this is 0, all these are ones, half plus quarter plus 8th plus 16th. So that's 15 by 16. Okay, so 8 by 16, 4, 2 and 1, 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. So that's the dynamic range. So mostly we will assume one integer bit which is a sign bit. We will assume the number is between -1 and 1. But we can't exactly represent 1, because to exactly represent 1 we would need a word length of infinite. Because it is finite word length here, so the maximum word length, so if W is the word length, if W is the word length, then max positive number will be 2 to the power minus 1 plus 2 to the power minus 2 plus 2 to the power minus W minus 1. So, as an example here, word length is 5. So, the weight of the last one will be 2 to the power minus W minus 1. W is 5. This is a geometric series. So, you can sum this as sum of a geometric series. Well, I mean, you can see that from the example, but you can use the formula A times 1 minus r to the power n by 1 minus r, where A is the first term, which is 2 to the power minus 1. 1 minus r, the common ratio is half to the power number of how many terms are here? W minus 1 divided by 1 minus half, which is half. Okay. So, that half and that half cancel out, and that's 1 minus 2 to the power minus W minus 1. Okay, that's what I was trying to show you here, that for W is 5, this is 1 minus 1 by 16, which is 15 by 16, and in general that's 1 minus half to the power W minus 1. Okay, so that's the dynamic range of a 2's complement number representation. How do we add and multiply these numbers? So, so we can add these numbers if we have if we want to add these numbers. A let's take a 4-bit number A3, A2, A1, A0, B3, B2, B1, B0. So, you just add them and take the carry. So, we can compute A0 plus B0, which is sum 0 plus carry 0, and then sum 1, carry 1, and so on. Okay. So, what is more interesting is how do we add in a fast manner, fast adders. So, so the so-called serial adder, I mean, this is simply adding sequentially, and the critical path will be limited by the word length. So, if W is the word length, so we have these A's and B's. Let's say carry minus 1, let's call it minus 1 is 0, A0 B0, A1 B1, A2 B2, and A3 B3. So, this carry rippling through will be in the worst case, the carry rippling through will be W minus 1. So, if this case the word length is 4, so the carry will ripple 3 positions to the left. Okay, so I guess well, there is a lot of theory that I won't get into, but if you think about how many bits to the position the carry actually ripples, what is the expected value of the length of the carry rippling to left? I mean, that's not always rippling. I mean, it's not always going to ripple to the last. So, the critical path is going to be a probabilistic quantity that's going to have a probability density function, and you can compute its expected value, and you can read some papers that prove that the expected value of carry propagating or rippling to the left is 2 bits on average. That's not the best case. I mean, obviously for the least carry may not ripple. For the worst, carry may ripple to all the way to the end, but that happens with very small probability, So the expected value of the carry rippling to left is 2 bits. Okay, we can prove that, and that's proven in numerous papers, including some of the papers we wrote 20 plus years ago. Okay, so I won't get into that, but let's talk about how can we reduce the time to the critical path or the time to add from linear in word length to logarithmic in word length. So I am sure all of you have gone through carry look ahead and how the carry chain can be broken down to logarithmic in word length. Anybody here who has not gone through carry look ahead adders? Okay, I think most of you have gone through that, but let's just quickly go through the basic principle, and then we will go to other topics. So there are many ways of doing carry look ahead adder, but the so-called reducing critical path from order of W to order of log W to base 2, and that is usually that happens. You can that happens. The basic principle is a recursive doubling. So again, we can so instead of C minus 1, using that to compute C0, compute C1, and then compute C3, C2, C3, etc. That's what we are doing here. We start with C minus 1, compute C0, C1, C2, and so on. So in this case, we can we can jump from C minus 1 to C0, C0 to C2, C2 to C4, C4 to C8, and C8 to 16. So you can see that this is only this is the initial recursion, which is computing 1 step ahead, and that's computing 2 steps ahead, C0 to C2. This should be computing 4 steps ahead, C6, and this should be computing 8 steps ahead. And so on. So that's the essence of recursive doubling. So we double the length to which we can compute the next carry, and this would be 16 plus 14 would be 30. Okay, so so how do you do in order to be able to do that, we need some pre-processing. So when these A and B bits are coming in, A0, B0, etc., we need some pre-processing step before we can do recursive doubling. So what does the pre-processing step involve? It involves computing the carry propagate and carry generate bits. So we need to compute P and G bits, and we can then use doubling on the P and G bits instead of A and B bits. Okay, that's kind of the main idea. Okay, so let's take so let's say that A and B and C in. So A can be 0 0, could be 0 1, 1 0, 1 1. Okay, so if we by the way, let me just say that a binary adder, 1-bit adder, A, B, C in, and it computes S and C out. So so if we take a 1-bit binary adder So if A and B are 0, 0, what's going to be, let's say this is sum and this is carry. So that's the representation. So what is going to be the output here? So 0 plus 0 plus C in, sum is going to be C in, and carry out will be 0. Okay, carry out will be 0. If this is either 0, 1 or 1, 0, and if you add these, 0 plus 1 or 1 plus 0 is 1, and what is 1 plus C in? So if I want to compute 1 plus C in, we can look at the two cases. If C in is 0, then 1 plus 0 is 1, which means that that can be represented as 0 carry and sum 1. If C in is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, so that can be represented as 1 and 0. The carry has twice the weight of the sum. So, well, A plus B plus C in is equal to 2 times carry out plus sum. So the carry has twice the weight. So if you look at this can be represented as the carry out. So for this case, the carry out, which is 0, is the same as the carry input. So this is C in, and the sum is C in bar. Okay. So that's the representation when we have either 0, 1 or 1, 0. So the carry out is the same as carry in, and the sum is carry in bar. So this C in, I'm not writing down, but this is everywhere. Okay. So what happens in this case? 1 plus 1 is 2. So that's the carry out, and then C in simply is the sum. So 2 is 1, 0, and then plus C in, that's 1 C in. Okay, so those are the 4 possible cases. And what do you think will be the what is the carry, when is carry generated? So we say that carry is generated in these cases so that's the carry generated. Okay, that's not the carry being propagated. And what is the value of the carry being generated? So the carry generated G, which is A times B. Okay. So in this case, the carry generated is 0 times 0 or 1 times 1. And the carry is propagated, this C in that was input here is propagated to the output. And when does that happen? When the exclusive OR of A and B is 1. So carry propagate, carry is propagated to the left if the A and B are either 0, 1 or 1, 0. Okay, so so those are the conditions of carry generate and propagate. So the carry out, so S, the sum bit S is A exclusive OR B exclusive OR C in, and carry out is AB plus AC plus BC, which is AB plus C in taken outside times A plus B. So that's the equation, and many of you have gone through this in a very simple digital design class long ago. Okay, so you should be able to prove, which you have done in a basic sophomore level digital design class, you should be able to prove that's equal to C in times A exclusive of B. So you can go through the logic equivalence and you should be able to prove that. And then if I just substitute this A B by the generate and A exclusive or B by the propagate, so I can then write this as a G plus C in times P. Okay, that's called the pre-processing step. So the pre-processing step simply takes A and B and computes P and G, and instead of applying recursive doubling on this equation, we apply recursive doubling on that equation. Okay. All right, so now let's start with Ci plus 1. Ci plus 1 is equal to Gi plus Ci Pi. So that's the, so I am taking the ith bit position now. So the I plus 1th carry out coming out of the ith bit adder is given by that equation. So the recursive doubling says that okay, so starting with that I can then compute Ci plus 2 by eliminating Ci plus 1. So Ci plus 2 is Gi plus 1 plus Ci plus 1 Pi plus 1, and if I substitute that Ci plus 1 here, I can eliminate Ci plus 1, so that will be Gi plus 1 plus I substitute that times Pi plus 1, and that is equal to Gi plus 1 plus Gi Pi plus 1 plus Pi plus 1 times Ci. Okay, so now you can see that this equation exactly looks like the first equation. If I think about this as, let's call this, people can use different notations. I could call this 0 or 1, doesn't probably matter all that much. If I call this 1, then we will call this 2, and we will call this Pi 2. Okay. And then I do the same thing. So Ci plus 4, so the recursive doubling idea basically continues. So I can compute Ci plus 4 is equal to, so we have Gi 2. Okay, now I am replacing I by I plus 2, and that's how, so replace I by I plus 2, and so this is Gi plus 2 plus Ci plus 2 times Pi plus 2, 2. And then if I substitute that value here, okay, we keep doing that, and then we get Gi plus 2 plus, substitute this thing here, Gi 2 plus Ci Pi 2 times Pi plus 2, 2, and that will be Gi plus 2, 2 plus Gi 2 Pi plus 2, 2 plus Ci times Pi 2 Pi plus 2, 2. And then I can call this Gi 4 and Pi 4, and the process can continue. So that's how we keep doubling, and we reduce the critical path from linear in word length to logarithm in word length. Okay, so let me just go through a few examples. We won't spend a lot of time So if we go to the appendix E, well, there is more in appendix E that I am not talking about. Fast binary adders and multipliers. This is very, very brief. It's not a lot of detail, but it certainly presents the basic ideas. So we take the bits x and y. There is a PG logic to compute the carry, propagate, and generate. And then this is the carry generate. That can take many forms. That can be serial. That can be based on carry look ahead. And then finally, okay, that's probably what I didn't talk about. The final step is to use these carries to compute the sum bits. So how do you do that? How do you compute the sum bits? That's done right here. If you recall, the sum is A exclusive or B exclusive or C. Okay, so A exclusive or B is carry propagate P, and then we have computed P for each bit, and we now know the carry for each position, and then compute the sum. Instead of using computing sum from A and B, compute sum from P and C. Okay, so there is Manchester adder, which is essentially a sequential adder. So you can look at that. Carry select adder, the very basic essence of carry select adder. So let's say that we are computing an 8-bit add operation, and this is the block containing the least significant 4 bits, and that's the block containing the most significant 4 bits. Okay, so I can do all kinds of things to speed this up. So, but let's just say that the very basic idea of carry select adders is that, so I don't know what that carry out of that 4-bit least significant 4-bit adder is. I don't know. However, even though I don't know what that carry out is, I do know that they only take 2 possible values. So they can either be 0 or 1. So I can compute these results assuming the carry from this least significant position is either 0 or 1. So we are doing duplicate computation assuming 2 possible cases. And then as soon as that is known, I can then use a mux to choose either this or that. And that's how we can reduce the propagation delay of the adder. So this was kind of what was used before. And using the tree idea, so the look ahead, carry look ahead idea is also tree based on simple principles of tree look ahead, and the tree look ahead has all kinds of, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you use Brent Kong or any other type of tree adders, but they're all using this recursive doubling that I just described, and so that essentially is showing the steps here. So combine GP and G prime P prime, those are the equations I just derived, and then you go through doubling process. So okay, so so this is showing here the carry look ahead adder, carry look ahead adder, so that we are assuming here the input carry is 0. The input carry is 0 if you are doing add. If you are doing subtract, I didn't mention, but if you are doing subtract A minus B, then you add A and 2's complement of B and set the input carry to be 1, and then replace B by B bar, the 1's complement of B. Okay, so So that's the doubling going on. So we compute C1. From C1 we can compute okay, we can compute C2. This is C2. C2 is used to compute C4, and then I compute C3 sequentially from C2. C4 is used to compute C8. C4 is computed to C8, and then I can compute these in in different ways. I can compute these. There are many ways to compute this. So of course I could compute this sequentially. Use C4 to compute C5, to compute C6, to compute C7, exactly as shown here. But I might choose to use the doubling with the distance 2. So I can use C4 to compute C5. I can also use C4 to compute C6, and then use C6 to compute C7. So there are many ways you can play with these things. So the essentially the ideas are carry select, where you do duplicate computations, and you do carry doubling. So that's kind of so anyway, no matter what fast adder you are using, those are the basic techniques that we can use. Okay, I won't get into a lot of detail, but let's talk a little about multipliers. So computing products. So if we are computing A times B, so how do I compute the output? Let's say compute output X, which is A times B. So I can compute A times B as, so let's say that A times, and if I take word length is 4, B can be written as in the expanded form minus B3 plus B2 2 to the power minus 1 plus B1 2 to the power minus 2 plus B0 2 to the power minus 3, which can then be written as minus A times B3 plus A B2 2 to the power minus 1 plus A B1 2 to the power minus 2 plus A B0 2 to the power minus 3. So these are all called individually, these are all called partial products. So for example, if A is A3, A2, A1, A0, then A, B0 would be simply A3, B0, A2, B0, A1, B0, A0, B0. So what exactly is AB0 times 2 to the power minus 1? So when you scale by half, what does that do? So scaling by half means we throw out, so we throw out, this bit is gone, this bit is gone, and we sign extend. So remove LSB and sign extend MSB. That's because it's a signed representation. So this A3B0 extends to the left, and we have A2B0 and A1B0. So that's A times B0 times 2 to the power minus 1. So that's so typically, if I compute these terms exactly as written here, we will be losing a lot of precision. For example, if I want to take this A times B0 times 2 to the power minus 3, I would remove 3 LSBs. 3 LSBs are gone, and I would just sign extend that to 3 bits to the left. So that means I have reduced my precision just to, out of these 4 bits, I have only retained 1 bit. So typically we do not multiply the A times B like that, but instead we use the so-called Horner's rule. How many of you have heard of Horner's rule? Good. So basically Horner's rule says that if I am computing a 0 plus a1 x plus a2 x squared plus a3 x cube plus a4 x4, something like that. So I can first take x cube outside, then a3 plus a4x, and then from these two I can take x squared outside, and then I have a2 plus x times that. From these two I can take x outside, so I have a1 plus x times that, and then a0 plus that. That's basically called Horner's rule, and we will see in a minute, named after British mathematician Horner. But we will see in a minute that these can preserve the precision that we were throwing away. So I can now write a times b. So if I start in same way, so I can write that as a times b1 plus a times b0 times 2 to the power minus 1. So a times b1, I've taken 2 to the power minus 2 outside the bracket. Okay. Then out of this and that, I take 2 to the power minus 1 outside the bracket. Okay, so this was 2 to the power minus 2, and from this term and that, I take 2 to the power minus 1 outside the bracket, and then I have a times b2 plus, now that becomes minus 1, and then minus a b3 plus. Okay, so now if you multiply it out, you can see the last term will have half times half times half, that's 2 to the power minus 3, and so on. So what's the advantage of this as opposed to directly adding that? So now I only need to, so now I don't involve a times b0 times 2 to the power minus 3. I only involve a times b0 times 2 to the power minus 1, which means I just abandon one LSB bit instead of 3 LSB bits. So we can compute the product so a times b0 times 2 to the power minus 1, which we already computed, and that was a3 b0 a3 b0 a2 b0 a1 b0, and we just abandoned this one. Okay, that's abandoned, and this is extended. Okay, so next step, so that's a times b0 times 2 to the power minus 1, and we add to that a times b1. So that's a3 b1, a2 b1, a1 b1, a0 b1, and I add them up. So I compute the first partial sum bit number 0, partial sum bit number 1, first partial sum bit number 2, first partial sum bit number 3. Okay, so now we have computed this quantity, and we need to scale that again. So to scale that again, I throw the LSB and sign extend the MSB of the first partial sum. So we got that. To that I add a times b2. So a times b2 is a3 b2, a2 b2, a1 b2, a0 b2, and then we get the second partial sum 2 bit number 0, partial sum 2 bit number 1, partial sum bit number 2, partial sum bit number 3. So at this time we are here, and then we do that, we multiply again by the scalar 2 to the power minus 1. So we throw that and sign extend the MSB, and finally we subtract minus a b3. Okay, so that's a times b1, that's a times b2. Okay, how do I compute minus A times B3? So, if B3 is 1, then we subtract, which means we add the complements of A. So, this will be A3 bar times B3, A2 bar times B2, A1 bar times B3, A0 bar times B3, and finally add B3. So, if B3 is a 0, this is 0, all these are 0, and we don't do anything. If B3 is 1, then these are all 1, and we are adding A bar plus 1 is same as subtracting. We take the 1's complement and add 1, that's same as adding 2's complement, which is subtracting. And then finally we can compute the product x0, x1, x2, x3. Okay, so well, that's one way, that's certainly one way to multiply. The main drawback here is at each and every stage the carry is rippling to the left. So, in the worst case, to complete each step, we will take W, latency of W. So, if I am going to pipeline this, well, depending on how we pipeline, but if I pipeline this horizontally, then the the overall latency is proportional to order of W squared. So, it is really W W times W minus 1, because we have to have for a word length of 4, we have 4 partial products to add, and they can be added using 3 things, 3 adders. 4 things can be added using 3 adders. Okay. So, let me just show you, this is called the carry ripple multiplier, the so called carry ripple multiplier. So, the way the carry ripple multiplier works, so again we are not going to go into a lot of detail, but that is essentially the multiplication table, and from that so what I have just described is this multiplication table here, and that is showing, well, I did not truncate, I am keeping, we are multiplying a number A, 4-bit number A to a 4-bit number B, and we get 7-bit result. So, these are the X bits, most significant bits, but these are the 3 LSBs, and you can keep them if you want. There is nothing wrong. If you want to maintain word length of 4, we can throw these things, but that is essentially what is going on. We are rippling the carry at each stage, and if you look at the so called dependence graph. So, the dependence graph of that computer, the multiplication table that I just showed, that is the dependence graph of the multiplication table. So, A wires are going down, B wires are going to the left at each and every node, like the dependence graph of an FIR filter. At every node, the sum is going diagonally down and carry is rippling to the left. So, carry bits shown by dashed lines are rippling to the left. Okay, so, if I want to map that to a hardware, this so called parallel carry ripple multiplier. So, each dot now is replaced by a 1-bit adder, and that is what is shown here. And as I was mentioning before, if I want to pipeline this horizontally, then at each stage it will be proportional to W. So, I can reduce the latency from order of W squared to order of W by pipelining horizontally, and these are the horizontal pipelining cut sets. Okay, so So that's certainly okay. I mean, but that's not really great because it's not good to have the carry propagating at each of these pipelining stages and increasing the clock period or the critical path to be proportional to the word length. What is the alternative to carry ripple from your class before? How many of you have heard of carry save multipliers? So instead of rippling the carry, I can save that and pass it down, and that's called carry save multiplier. Well, we can have carry save adder as well. So the idea, very basic idea of carry ripple versus carry save. Carry ripple means carry is rippling to the left within the same pipeline. Carry save means carry is not ripple to the left, but is saved and goes down. Okay. So this is the dependence graph of the same multiplication table, but instead of at every position what we were trying to do, we were trying to ripple the carry to the left. Now let's say that a carry is generated at this position and the sum is generated here. Okay. So what was happening in the previous case, the carry was rippling to the left. Okay. So and the sum was going down. No, sum was going down, diagonally down to the right. Okay. So these parallel lines are the sum lines. So 4 by 4 multiplier has 7 product bits, and these are the 7 diagonal lines. Okay. And that's the okay, this line is a dummy. I mean, there's nothing going on here. So that's the A0 times oh no, this is something is going on here. So this is A0 B0, and that's the LSB of the full product, and that's the MSB of the full 7-bit product. Okay. So so the carry, think about it. So the way that these are happening, the sum, this has certain significance. Okay. And the carry, so this carry has to be part of the quantity that has twice the significance. Carry has twice the weight than sum. Now this sum is going diagonally to the down to the right. That becomes rippled and becomes part of that sum, and that sum has twice weight than this sum, which is perfectly fine. Now think about this. Instead of rippling that carry, I can bring it down. That still is part of the next sum, which has twice the weight. So instead of rippling the carry, we can save the carry. That's called save. So at each position, carry is saved and then passed down. That's called carry save multiplier. Okay, so that's the dependence graph. You will see this something called vector merging adder. At the end of this multiplication table, what we are generating at the end are 2 vectors. You can think of it as 2 vectors. So in a sense, what I am generating here are if you add these things, we get a sum vector and a carry vector. Okay, so add these, we get sum, and then we get carry. Add these, we get sum and carry, and we can do that sequentially. That's perfectly fine. But if I want to use a fast adder for the last part, instead of rippling that, we can so-called merging vector S and vector C is just adding them together, which is known as vector merging adder, and typically people use fast adders like Cogistone or Brent-Kung adders. Okay, so so that is the from the dependence graph we can obtain the hardware architecture where we have replaced the dot by 1-bit adders. So we are computing A times B, that's called the X or the partial product, bit generation, and then the 1-bit adder. Now, why is this architecture any different from the other carry ripple architecture? If I pipeline this horizontally as shown here, this B0, you may think that the critical path is limited by order of word length, but B is broadcast to all of these at the same time. B is not computing anything. So now in fact the propagation delay for every stage is now proportional to 1, and that means the total latency of these is proportional to W minus 1 as opposed to W times W minus 1. Is that making sense? Am I going too fast for you, or is this primarily a review?
First,
I am assuming, are we not teaching this in VLSI design 1 or 2? We used to teach this in VLSI design 1. We are not teaching this anymore. You see? Okay. Okay, well, typically, yeah, I would give you homework to do and you would learn all of these things, but I want you to focus on projects so I can free up your time. So, but anyway, at least I'm just illustrating the basic ideas. So, carry save, the major advantage of carry save is it reduces the latency per stage in this horizontal pipelining. Okay, so what about the fast adder? Well, at the end we get this carry vector and the sum vector, and I can add them up. If I want to do bit level pipelining, I can just use half adders and pipeline them at bit level like that. So I can add A and B by half adders, these are no longer full adders, and then save the carry, go to next stage, save the carry, and this can be pipelined. If I want bit level pipelining, I just take this part here and put that here, then that's bit level pipelined. That means the critical path is now limited by one cell, which is the time to compute a partial product bit A times B and the time for the 1-bit adder. If I could ripple, I could choose to ripple. If the critical path is not a constraint, I could choose A times B, ripple the carry. So the fast, this is the slowest adder, this is the vector merging step. That's what I was actually showing here. That design here is that. Okay, that design is that. And I might be interested in 2-bit level pipelining, where the critical path is limited by 2 bits, 2 binary adders instead of half adders, 1-bit binary adder. So I can ripple this carry 1 bit. So now I'm done. I break the carry and I ripple this to the left and then save that and go to next stage. So that's kind of a combination of carry ripple and carry save. So there are numerous ways of vector merging adder design. So okay, so that's at least it gives you some ideas. I mean, I know that we are not going to. So the last part will not be at the depth of what we have been doing before. So I mean, if I'm reading papers, we'll just browse through and learn some major concepts. I will say that you won't learn as depth as the last part of the class. And if you want to learn the same depth as the last part of the class, then we will abandon projects and we will give homeworks every week. We will have a third midterm. We can do that. There is nothing wrong. Well, I can decide what we can do. So, but I still feel that it's good to expose you to concepts and have you do some design, because after all, this is a design class. Okay, so okay, I have talked a lot about adders and multipliers. How many of you have heard of Baguli multiplier? Anyone? Has anyone heard of Baguli multiplier? So that's the multiplication table for Baguli multiplier. So we are multiplying A and B, and you will see that what's the difference between Baguli and the approach that I described, either carry save or carry ripple? What's the fundamental difference? There is no sign extension going on at each stage. Okay, so that's kind of the main advantage of Baguli. I am not taking A3B0 and extending that sign bit as I was doing here. So that A3B0 was a sign extended, and we keep doing sign extension at every place. So there is no sign extension going on, and that drawback is overcome by this Baguli multiplication table. Okay, so so we can spend a little time on deriving the Baguli table. So let's say that we want to multiply A times B, which is minus A3 plus A2 2 to the power minus 1 plus A1 2 to the power minus 2 plus A0 2 to the power minus 3 times minus B3 plus B2 2 to the power minus 1 plus B1 2 to the power minus 2 plus B0 2 to the power minus 3. And if I multiply them out, I can see that minus A3 times minus B3 is A3B3. Okay, so think of this as one group of terms and one group of terms. So these are the positive terms, negative, negative, positive. And then I can multiply the positive to positive. So that's A2 times 2 to the power minus 1 plus A1 times 2 to the power minus 2 plus A0 times 2 to the power minus 3 times B2 times 2 to the power minus 1 plus B1 times 2 to the power minus 2 plus B0 times 2 to the power minus 3. And finally, the cross terms, minus A3 multiplied by that minus B3 multiplied by that. So plus minus A3 B2 times 2 to the power minus 1 minus A3 B1 2 to the power minus 2 minus A3 B0 2 to the power minus 3 plus minus A2 B3 2 to the power minus 1 minus A1 B3 2 to the power minus 2 minus A0 B3 2 to the power minus 3. So if I look at these two terms, so we'll get back to the first two terms later on, but just let's focus on the negative terms. So that to create that Baguli table, I need to get rid of these negative signs. That's kind of the main sense. So this can then be, this part here can be written as minus A3B2 minus A2B3 times 2 to the power minus 1 plus, I am collecting the powers together, minus A3B1 minus A1B3 times 2 to the power minus 2 plus minus A3B0 minus A0B3 times 2 to the power minus 3. So for the last two bracketed terms, we are collecting the powers together, and that's these three terms: 2 to the power minus 1, 2 to the power minus 2, 2 to the power minus 3. Here is the trick. So the next trick is, so the main advantage of 2's complement is the product is within the range all the time. So if I am multiplying something that's between minus 1 and 1, another number minus 1 and 1, so the result is always going to be correct, and the carry out bits won't matter. So what I can tell you is that if I just add 2 this whole thing, 2 to this whole thing, then that result won't affect, because the 2 is a carry out bit that's not part of this product. So that 2, adding a 2 or actually adding 2 or 4 or whatever won't change the product, because that's a carry out bit. And one of the nice properties of 2's complement numbers is the product is always within range. That means you can throw out. The product is not within the range when you add, but the product is within range when you multiply. And I am going to take that 2 out and distribute that as 2 here, 2 here, and then 3 here. Okay, why are we doing that? Well, so this 2 times 2 to the power minus 1 is 2 times half, which is 1. 3 times 1 quarter is 3 by 4. 2 times 1/8 is 1 by 4. So 1 plus 3 quarter plus 1 quarter is that 2, and adding that 2 does not matter. Okay, so now I can then say, okay, the last part here. So that think about this, what is 2 minus A3B2 minus A2B3, that is A3B2 bar plus A2B3 bar. Okay, why is that? Why is that? Well, A bar is 1 minus A. If A is 1, A bar is 0. If A is 0, A bar is 1. So take that 2, divide it to 2 parts. So 1 minus A3B2 is A3B2 bar. 1 minus A2B3 is A2B3 bar. Okay, plus, now here out of the 3, I can take 2 and combine that, but we will be left with 1 extra. So 1 plus A3B1 bar plus A1B3 bar times 2 to the power minus 2 plus that 2, 1 minus that plus 1 minus that is A3B0 bar plus A0B3 bar times 2 to the power minus 3. Okay, so now we don't have any negative sign. So what we had negative signs here, we have overcome that problem. So now all I need to do is group these terms with this quantity here. Okay, so that's all we need to do. So so if you think about how we can group these things, the maximum weight here is 2 to the power minus 3 times 2 to the power minus 3, which is 2 to the power minus 6. 2 to the power minus 6. So if I write down these terms, 2 to the power minus 6, 2 to the power minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 2 to the power 0, and let's collect these terms B0, B1, B2, B3. So let's take care of the positive terms first. So A3, B3, so that's coefficient of B3 with weight 1, so we put it here, A3, B3. Now we keep multiplying 1 by 1. A2, B2, A2, B2 times 2 to the power minus 2. That's coefficient of 2, A2, B2. A2, B1 times 2 to the power minus 3. That's coefficient of B1, A2, B1. Plus A2, B0 times 2 to the power 2 to power minus 4. Okay, then we have multiply the next one, a1 b2 times 2 to power minus 3. So a1, that's b2, a1 b2, a1 b1 2 to power minus 4, a1 b0 2 to power minus 5, and multiply the 2 to power minus 3, minus 1 is 2 to power minus 4, a0 b2, b2 is here, a0 b2, a0 b1 and a0 b0. Okay, so we have taken care of all those, and then finally we just have to take care of these terms. So in the 2 to power minus 1, so let's take care of those terms. So 2 to power minus 1 line is here, a3, so that's b2 is here, a3 b2 bar, a2 b3 bar, b3 is here, a2 b3 bar. Okay, so that's 2 to power minus 1. For the 2 to power minus 2, I have a 1, so that's that 1. a3 b1 bar, so b1 is here, so a3 b1 bar, a1 b3, b3 is here, so a1 b3 bar. Okay, that's, we are done with that. 2 to power minus 3, that's here, a3 b0, that's b0, so that's a3 b0 bar plus a0 b3 bar. Okay, that's believe it or not, that is exactly the Baguli table in the book. So if you look at this table here, that's exactly what I derived, a3 b3, and then the bars of the here, then 1 bar on top, 1 bar on bottom, 1 bar on top, 1 bar on bottom, same here, 2 in between, and finally no bars for the last parts. Okay. So if we take that Baguli multiplication table and use the carry save idea instead of carry ripple, and that's the Baguli multiplier shown here. So as you can see here, the out of each adder, full adder or half adder, the sum is the sum. Think about this. At this position, the sum comes here, okay, and the carry is saved and goes to the next position. So this has twice the weight than that. At any place, this has twice the weight of that. This has twice the weight of that. And finally, we are just showing a bit level pipeline-able vector merging adder. Okay, so surely we have talked a lot about that, those kinds of things. But let me say, all the things that I have described, nobody uses them. Nobody uses Baguli multiplier. What do people use in the industry when you think about multipliers? For last 25 years, people have been using Wallace tree multipliers with modified Booth recording. So that's really what people use. So everything that I have talked about is not useful. Well, it's still good to know how these ideas evolved. So I will not start talking about well, we talked about tree adders, and like that we can talk about tree multipliers, and there can be many kinds of tree multipliers. There is a binary tree, just like the doubling, there is a binary tree multiplier, and the Wallace tree multiplier is not a binary tree multiplier. But what's the difference between Wallace tree and binary tree multiplier? The depth of the tree is reduced by half. By binary tree multipliers, the depth of the tree is reduced by log 3 to base 2. You take 3 things and add them up. We'll talk about that next time. But that's still not useful. But at the end, we are interested in reducing latency. So what is really the way to reduce latency? Well, if you look at why the latency, I can do a number of tricks. I can do carry save and whatever. But ultimately, if the word length is, let's say word length is 8, so B is an 8-bit number, I have 8 things to add, and that means I have 8 partial products to add. So, that means the latency will be proportional to 8. Now, what modified booth recording does is reduces that 8 to 4 digits as opposed to 4 bits, and these partial products now can be reduced by half, and the latency can, instead of having approximately the latency of this whole thing, well, the latency of this is carry ripple, but the latency of carry save would be, so we can reduce the latency. Okay, we'll talk more about that, but we can reduce the latency because modified booth recording reduces the number of partial product rows, and the Wallace tree will go through completing all those add operations in a tree manner. So anyway, we'll talk about those next class.